What's good, young bosses? It's your girl, and welcome back to another boss type video. We're finally here with the first episode of Sensual Saturday, and I only thought it would be right if we brought back the first guest that we had. Well, the first guest for the few videos of Sensual Saturday. So if you guys haven't watched Sensual Saturday, go check out the previous videos on my channel. Alix was the inspiration for Sensual Saturday, so I thought, why not bring him back for the first episode of Spiritual Saturday, which is basically the same concept, except this time we'll be speaking on more spiritual terms. So it's the same concept as I said. We have questions inside of this jar. Alix has not seen or read any of the questions, so he has no idea what they're going to be about. Of course, he knows they're spiritual. He just knows that they're spiritual-based questions. So we're going to dive right in. Before we get into it, don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, and turn on those post notifications so you know you're going to post another video. Let's get into it. I'm opening this up for Alix.
So basically, it's what you liked.
Is what?
What's spiritual now?
These are like God-based questions.
Right.
It's a test of your faith.
Right.
The channel is doing transformation, so we're going to see way more spirit-led, God-based videos, and I think this is just a great way to start, bringing people of all religions, all beliefs into it, so it's not like focused on one target group.
Gotcha.
I know there's some people who believe in God, some people who don't, some people who believe in other things.
This is for everybody.
It's for everybody, and it's just, I guess, like a welcome space. Okay, so I have like a couple questions, and I'm going to let Alix choose the first question.
What is / was an inner need that your worst habit fulfilled?
Okay. I think this question is kind of perfect. It's not like a specific topic, but
okay.
it's a good
So
one.
since I read, I think you should go first.
Okay. I'm gonna read it again because what is / was an inner need that your worst habit fulfills or fulfilled? An inner need. I guess that was like a sense of self-satisfaction. And my worst habit in a previous time of my life was either going to alcohol or going to edibles. So it wasn't like a social thing. It was more like I'll just be in my room, or if I'm with my best friend and we're together and we're going through something, it would just be like, hey, let's get a drink. And it wasn't like over drinking, like we weren't.
But it's just you find yourself slowly relying on
we weren't like addicted to it. It was more so like, life is just being life right now. Let's go get a drink, like, pour a cup or something. And I guess it was just like a wanting to feel something, but not wanting to feel anything at the same time.
Gotcha.
So the inner need was like the feeling of peace outside of God and resulting towards worldly needs such as alcohol and edibles, which gave like that feeling of happiness and gave that feeling of satisfaction without actually.
So would you say you kind of went to that because it was the easiest way to obtain that feeling without having to put like the actual psychological, emotional, spiritual work into actually resolving that issue? Like it was like a quick, easy fix.
It was a it was a quick, easy fix towards being away from reality. Okay. So I guess that was that. If that's the answer to your question.
Okay, makes sense. See, mine was so since I was a child, I struggled with like how I see myself, right? Okay. My perception of self, and I struggled with self-esteem issues. So for like a really long time, even like until very recently, I did not like myself, albeit personality, albeit looks. Just like there was a lot that I didn't like. Okay. So in order to feel like it, I was like, I guess the rationalization was, if I don't like myself, right, at least people like me, and to prove that like I'm worth liking or I'm desirable, I would like sleep around. Or like, yeah, that was really it. I just like even if I didn't want to, you know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, okay, this person is attracted to me, cool. Like I'm not attracted to the person, but the fact that you're attracted to me was enough for me to like.
I understand that. That's completely understandable.
Right. And then I realized after doing some actually sitting down and like thinking, it was like part of that came from a need of I am hyper independent, which never allowed me to be vulnerable with people.
Okay.
Which I guess came from childhood where it was like I was always taught, hey, do this yourself, do this yourself, do this yourself. So it's not, I never had that validation that like basically everything I would complete, there was always another task. There was never oh, you did a good job, I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? So it was like, oh yeah, you're expected to do good in school. You're expected to do this. You're expected to do that. So it's like all the things that most people be like, oh yeah, I like this about myself. In my head, I was like, no, this is like what I'm supposed to, like, this is the norm. Like I shouldn't reward myself. I shouldn't say I'm a good person because I do X, Y, and Z, because that's what everyone's supposed to do. You know what I mean? And then it just came from like that loss of validation from growing up, and someone saying, hey, you're worth it, or you're worthy, or you're amazing, or you're da 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 da. So I found that in people. Like I was like, okay, if I can't validate my own self-worth, I'm gonna use people's attraction to me to validate that. And then you had mentioned before, like using drinking in a way as like a small, like an easier way to escape. And I remember I used to do that a lot. Now, not so much. Like I'm very like responsible with it, and I only really drink in social settings. But I do remember there was a time in which like there was just so much going on, and I had to choose what vices to go with, you know what I mean? So it was like, you're hurting, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm hurting, what can I do?
Right.
Because at the time I have, like, even to this day, I still have certain responsibilities that require me to be here. So I can't do anything that was like too crazy that potentially might kill me, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, you know what? Drinking and sex. And then I was like, you know what? Drinking is a really bad one because that can lead to this, this, and this. All right, so then sex was the safest choice. So now that's like 3 different problems or 3 different issues that I was using sex to fulfill, which I think also bled out into my relationships in the sense that whenever I had an issue, or when I was like for example, even now, it's like if I get frustrated or I get annoyed, I don't want to talk it out. I want to, you know,
so one problem led to another problem, led to another problem, led to a whole cycle of events.
And so now you have someone who's very hypersexual. And like, it also, when I said it bled out into my relationship, it was less of, oh my God, I want to sleep with my partner all the time, although that was the case, but more so, if my partner didn't want to sleep with me, that means there's something wrong with me, or you're disgusted by me, or maybe you don't love me.
It kind of went back to that self-satisfaction and stuff, like how you view
validation
yourself.
And exactly. So that's what ended up happening, is that I'll be in a relationship and I was like, all right, cool, let me initiate something. It's like, I don't feel like it. I'm like, dang, bro, you don't love me. I'm ugly. Oh my God. Why? Don't look at me.
I think that's where the mind plays biggest tricks on you. In the areas of your weaknesses, that's where, you know, you get attacked the most. That's where they always say that for those who believe like the devil attacks you in the areas of your weaknesses, and that's why it's more important to, you know, arm yourself, especially in like the word of God. But I think, honestly, I don't know what's the thing, because we're not, you know, we don't have the solutions to every problem, hence why there's a lot of problems. But I think it's just how you handle the situation, how we are able to identify that these are areas that we both struggled with or are struggling with, and that if we're able to identify that we took the first step, and now it's following along with what are we doing now to ensure or to, you know, avoid these situations that we were once in or that we're currently in.
Kind of like, now that we recognize what it is and can assess it, we can now begin taking those baby steps into like, okay, well, because you know they say, what is it? Progress isn't linear. So there are gonna be some days where you're doing really well and then you fall back to the same pattern. You do really well for an extended amount of time, so you just kind of take it day by day. It's like, all right, cool. So today I didn't do this. Let me give myself a little pat on the back. You feel me? I think another thing that helped me realize a lot of things is that I see how I treat my friends and how forgiving I can be towards my friends and how much I love my friends and I'm like, oh my God, they're so amazing people or whatever. And it comes to the logic that if these people are so amazing, right, and these people are so wonderful, why would they hang out with someone who wasn't?
Okay.
Meaning that my love and adoration for these people, I'm like, oh yeah, they're so smart, they're so brilliant, they're so kind, they're so considerate. If they're all those things I think they are, then of course they would hang out with someone who's the same. You know what I mean?
So it's like a self-reflection.
Exactly. Like they say, like what was it they say? That you are a reflection. Your friends are a reflection of who you are.
Right.
So it's like if I saw my friends as this, that means that inadvertently I'm that. So one of the things that I try to do instead is now the same thoughts I would share about or think about my friends, I would try to think about myself as if I was my own friend.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. That's a good way to give yourself a little pep talk.
Yeah.
See something or that you may have missed or from a different perspective, which is something that I think a lot of people should take into consideration, that we don't give ourselves enough credit for the progress that we're making and for who we are despite our past faults.
Absolutely. Or I also think that one of the major facets is that we also struggle to forgive ourselves as well.
Forgiveness,
yeah. Because I think a lot of times, like, there's other people around you that, like, something will happen and, like, you're like, oh yeah, that's a minor, I can understand why. Like, for example, you ever had a situation where you talked to someone and they were upset and they lashed out? They might have said something a little hurtful, or they might have closed off and reserved, and you, as your empathetic self, rationalize it. You're like, oh, well, you know, this was a very sensitive topic. I already know how they felt about that. That's why they did that. And you know what? I shouldn't hold that against them. But then when you make the same mistake, you're like, nah, fuck you.
You're going in.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't show that same level of understanding that, unfortunately, there's no such thing as an untraumatized adult.
Facts.
Everyone is hurt in different ways.
Everyone has their own story.
And a lot of that sometimes, unfortunately, comes from the people you love the most, right? Your parents can do that to you.
Family,
and then it comes to that point where then, okay, once you realize, oh yeah, that person, it wasn't intentional. That it's just like, for example, my family's not very close, right? We're like, not close, but we're like kind of cold. It's like, we don't do that, oh my God, I love you, da-da-da-da type stuff, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, you feel me? And it's like, at one point in time in my life, and that's where that whole validation thing came from, because my family doesn't do that. In my head, I'm like, damn, I'm not really loved, I'm not da-da-da-da, I'm not da-da-da-da. And it's just realizing that it's not that they don't love you, or love me, I should say, but it's more of the fact that they were never taught how to express it.
Exactly.
And you can't teach something you don't know.
Exactly.
And I think one of my favorite terms is when you break the generational curse, which is, at least for me, or at least how I've interpreted it, or how I learned about it, was it's those traumatic traits and those trauma responses that are passed down from generation to generation that you actively become aware of and you work to fix. Even if you can't holistically fix it for yourself, if you're one of the people who decide to have a family, you decide to fix that for your family.
And that's preparing yourself beforehand too. That's not saying jump into a situation where you already, where you just going like cold turkey into it, but that's just taking the time to prepare yourself, recognizing those downfalls, recognizing those curses that were placed on you from whenever they were placed on you, and then taking those next steps to bettering yourself so that you can then break those curses when the time comes. So that's deep.
I feel like we touched that topic like very thoroughly. I feel like we chopped it up, cooked it up, you know, served it.
And that's just a good point. The reason why when I read this question I saw and I was like, you know, we all have bad habits that we use or that we learn to cope through difficult situations, and that it should definitely be something that's recognized, because as I said, the whole point of this is to find like the spiritual meaning behind it, to go deeper and
would you
to
say
like
that you're
reveal
also looking, because we have all of these different perspectives, but you're all trying to meet at this spiritual common ground.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know, how do you process this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like as I said, like not to expose Alix, but you know, what are what are your beliefs basically?
So I'm not really like set in stone organized religion, but I am very spiritual in the sense that I do believe that there is a higher power that I am kind of like, the best way I explain it is that your whole body is a bunch of cells, right? Each of your cells are alive on its own, right? You have all these organisms and they come together to make you. And that is what I believe, to a spiritual sense, I am to the universe. I am the universe experience of itself.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So that's another reason why I also wanted to bring Alix, because although Alix and I share different beliefs, you know, I believe strongly in God, and Alix just explained to you what he believed in, but that at the end of the day, we're still both humans, and we still go through traumatic experiences, or we still cope with, we still cope with situations in our own ways, trying to just find that peace, trying to find just like the way that we can relieve ourselves of that, so that our differences don't really set us apart, but that they can actually bring us together. I know there's a lot of people who strongly believe that, you know, if you don't believe in God, this, and this, or that, you know, you can't be friends, you know, and I know there's a lot of controversy in that area, but I strongly believe that we can come together one way or another. Through our experiences, through our faith, through our belief, and still be true to ourselves.
Absolutely.
As we go through these different situations. So, you got any final words?
No, I think you touched on it phenomenally.
Oh, thank you. But that was it for the first episode of Sensual Saturday. Of course, I am very grateful that Alix was able to join us and share his thoughts and opinions and his journey with us as well. Don't forget again to hit that like button, to hit that subscribe button, and turn on this post notification. Let me know what topics would you like to be discussed. Would you like to hear be discussed during this?
What topics would you like to discuss as well?
That part.
You know, there's a
my
comment
words
section.
Are being slurred and blurred.
if you feel it different, where you have your own beliefs, you know, type it down
put
below.
it in. Like, we want to hear your opinion. This is not closed off. This is completely
I'm gonna judge
open.
you, but yeah.
I'm not.
I was like, dang, what? That's crazy.
But I look forward to recording these with you guys, and also if you guys want to see Alix, you know, it's no problem to have him back. It's always a joy. But yeah, leave some topics below. Let us know what you guys feel, believe, or think. Appreciate you for listening and just being here and supporting from the time we started Sensual Saturday. And I look forward to starting this new journey with you guys. You guys are true. You guys are my bosses. And I love y'all. I'll catch y'all later, bosses.